This episode of FineScale Modeler's new product rundown features HobbyBoss's Chinook, Takom's FlaK Tower, and NuNu's Audi rally car. Plus, we take a quick look at some kits with new parts.
New product rundown brought to you by HobbyZone USA, your source for hobby storage solutions, hard-to-find hobby tools, and aftermarket modeling needs.
Hi, and welcome to New Product Rundown, FineScale Modeler's monthly look at the latest kits and releases. I'm Aaron Skinner.
And I'm Tim Kidwell. Let's kick off this episode by looking at HobbyBoss's new 1/48 scale CH-47A Chinook.
Now, I think this is a really cool helicopter. Love to watch them at air shows. They're kind of maneuverable. The guys do all kinds of fun things with them.
Like the two rotors, that whole thing.
Yep.
You know what a Chinook is, right?
It's like some sort of wind, right?
West of the Rockies, it comes in off of the Pacific Ocean, warms the Pacific Northwest. East of the Rockies, it's a different story. But it's still a warm wind.
So kind of like the downdraft from one of these things.
Absolutely.
Right. So this is an all-new tooling for HobbyBoss, but the part breakdown and instructions bear a lot of resemblance to Trumpeter's 1/35 scale kit of the Big Chopper.
The fuselage is divided into the forward 2/3 and the rear with the opening for the ramp. External surface detail includes recessed panel lines and rivets. A separate one-piece spine will help hide the upper seam. Inside, there is quilting on sides and structural details around the ramp, which is designed to pose open. The sponsons for the landing gear are separate.
Inside is a full-length floor with tie-downs in the rear and cockpit up front, and separate hatch for the cargo sling, and a ceiling with molded quilting. Cockpit detail comprises a rear bulkhead with passage to the cargo area and racks of avionics between the sections. Pilot seats, controls, instrument panel, shroud, center console, and overhead panel finish the front.
The engines include some internal detail that will be visible through openings in the nacelles. The rotor blades with molded sag get sandwiched into the two-part brackets that mount on the rest of the heads with the positioning gear. Multi-part landing gear legs mate with wheels with hub and brake details.
Clear parts include the one-piece cockpit glass with the doors and part of the nose, cabin windows, and lights. Photo etch brass supplies a bunch of engine and intake screens.
The decal sheet has stencils and walkways as well as markings for two U.S. Army CH-47As, one carrying the 1st Cavalry Division emblem, the other in a lighter olive drab.
There's plenty of detail in HobbyBoss's Chinook, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes together. Be the basis of a really interesting diorama.
Shall we say, get to the chopper.
Sure.
Next, let's talk about Takom's 1/350th scale FlaK Tower.
Now, Takom has had a reputation for some really esoteric kits of late, whether it's ship gun turrets or the 1/350th scale Zeppelins we looked at last episode. So this is right in that wheelhouse.
I don't have much more to add to that, except if you think this is cool, you'll probably like this too.
Indeed. Now, the basic tower builds from 4 identical sides, the lower parapet for the smaller anti-aircraft guns, and the upper deck for the twin 88mm gun positions, including stairs and thin railings.
Most of the other parts go to detail the upper deck, including magazines for the 88s, what I think are elevators for bringing up more ammunition, and more railings.
The finely molded 88mm guns feature separate elevation gear, frames, and mounts. The barrels for the auxiliary 20 and 37mm guns are extremely fine, and both positions include separate mounts and frames.
Photo-etched brass supplies shutters for the magazines, a crane for the side of the tower, and details for the guns including seats, footrests, and platforms and railings. No decals are included, and you can have your FlaK Tower in any color you want as long as it is concrete. Weathering the 9x9-inch block will make all the difference.
As I said at the beginning, Takom really does continue to provide offbeat subjects for modelers.
So, for fans of rally cars, we have got a treat for you. NuNu's 1/24th scale Audi Sport Quattro S1.
Now, this is a reboxing of a B-Max kit, but this one represents the car driven by John Buffum and Neil Wilson at the 1986 Olympus Rally.
Now, a little bit of trivia for you. John Buffum, from our meager research, I think he is the winningest rally car racer in U.S. history,
So I've heard.
from our meager research.
So anyway, let's look at the kit. Molded in white, the one-piece body captures the angular lines of the Audi. The doors, hatch, and hood are molded closed. The front grille and clip are separate, as is the rear spoiler.
The engine in this curbside model is represented by the sump and transmission molded with the front and rear axles that mounts on the underside plate with the suspension arms and exhaust. Much of that detail will be hidden by bash plates front and back, springs and brakes, wheels, and soft vinyl tires finishing the running gear.
The interior builds from a floor with integral front and rear panels, separate sides with door panels, bucket seats, dashboard with molded vents, instrument bezels, and radio equipment, shifters, pedals, and a multi-part roll cage.
Thin and sharply molded clear parts supply the windshield, side and rear windows, and lights.
The decals provide much of the trim for the windows, but there's still spots that will need to be painted. In addition to the markings for the 86 rally car, instruments and seat belts also come on the sheet.
If you want to take your Audi into fifth gear, there is a photo etch metal detail set available from Platts and NuNu. It includes brake rotors, engine screens, wipers, mud flaps, and seat belt buckles to add to thin red ribbon for more realistic harnesses.
So I really like the look of this kit. I'd really want to build one like this, but I'd love to do it in a diorama with like going around a corner.
Like a rooster tail coming off the back,
yeah,
dust flying.
a little bit off the ground, something like that.
Get on it.
Okay, I'll see you guys later.
Well, until Roden released its 1/144 scale C-133 in 2019, the big plane was pretty much relegated to resin and vacuum formed kits.
Now Roden has re-released that original A variant, which builds really well, according to Walt Fink.
New here is the inclusion of a Thor intermediate range ballistic missile, a common load for the C-133 when the nuclear weapons were deployed to the United Kingdom as part of Project Emily.
Decals provide markings for a 436th Military Airlift Wing C-133 in 1963 with RAF markings for the Thor. All of this is a simple addition to the Cargomaster and a neat display option.
Speaking of U.S. cargo planes, Zvezda is following up its well-received
Definitely.
I think so.
Yep.
It's well-received 1/72nd scale Hercules with this long body variant, the C-130J-30.
The obvious difference is the longer fuselage halves, which show the same fine recessed surface detail of the initial kit.
Also new are the nacelles for the Rolls-Royce turboprops, as well as the spinners and blades for the six-bladed scimitar props.
As with the initial release, the kit features a great selection of marking options, including a U.S. Air Force aircraft painted in commemorative D-Day markings, line aircraft from the UK, France, and Italy, and my fave, a Royal Australian Air Force Hercules painted for the service's 100th anniversary.
So exactly how long is your list of Australian aircraft that you think you're going to build?
Well, they've had 200 or 300 different types of aircraft in service over the years, so you know it's about that long. And some of them there's multiple variants, like P-40s and.
I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Okay.
Stop. Just stop.
Finally, we have the first of Kinetic's F-104 kits in U.S. Air Force markings, the 148 scale F-104A/C.
Now this kit, the basic kit, has been produced in German, Japanese, Italian, Taiwanese? Am I missing one?
Dutch.
And Dutch markings.
The major new parts here are the early fuselage halves, optional belly sections, and a refueling probe as fitted to the C.
Cartograph decals give markings for 4 USAF Starfighters, a camouflage C based at Udorn Air Force Base in Thailand during the Vietnam War, another an SEA camo with the Puerto Rico Air National Guard, a natural metal C with the 434th Tactical Fighter Squadron, and a natural metal A from the same unit. This is a sharp kit of one of the classic Century Series fighters.
Look for reviews of the Audi, Chinook, and FlaK Tower on FineScale.com in the near future.
You know, it occurs to me, we used to work with an editor who absolutely hated the F-104 Starfighter.
Yeah, because it took down the XB-70 Valkyrie, his favorite plane.
Yeah, it just,
I mean, it's not my favorite plane, but it's sharp looking. It's a very cool looking
have
plane.
always thought it was a good looking plane. Anyway, you know who you are. You're out there. Visit FineScale.com and make sure you check out the how-to, the videos, snapshots, and everything else that you find there.
And while you're there, go by the CombatHobbyStore.com for tools, books, all kinds of great gift ideas.
Absolutely. I'm Tim Kidwell. Thanks for watching.
I'm Aaron Skinner. We'll see you guys next year.
Next year. Weird. It's strange. Offbeat. Offbeat subjects.
Offbeat's good, yeah, like that.
As they're driving, they're also fighting. That adds a new
I said left, dummy, left.
new level of danger to the race.
That was a Freudian balk. Because sometimes a chicken is just a chicken.
Absolutely.